Hi, welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I'm kind of disorganized right now. I like to have everything written down, but I'm just kind of all over the place. So, I had an eventful week. So I was still recovering from COVID. I went back to school one day, and then we had a 3-day strike because I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm part of LAUSD. And so for 3 days we were striking. The first day was in the rain. We had to go to our schools and picket and all that kind of stuff. So 3 days, and then we went back to school today, one day, and then we had the weekend. So whether or not the strike is good or not, I mean, it's nice to have those. We didn't exactly have the days off. But I didn't go to the downtown marches or rallies. I only went to my school in the morning. I did all that when I was younger, and I'm just like, I'm not going to school, so I'm supporting it that way. And I went to my school site in the mornings, and I would picket there. And because of all the rain and everything, and I was still recovering, I was just like, no, I'm not going to go downtown. So, anyways, it can be argued, but I think I did my part. I could I have done more? Yes, but hey. So we had that, and then after school today, I had to go to the doctor's office because my school requires a tuberculosis test, and so while I was in the doctor's office, I was chatting with some colleagues, and they're like, one of them was like, you don't have to do the test anymore, right? Your doctor can just say you're not at high risk, and they sign the paper. And I was like, oh, really? And so I kind of had to like bully my doctor into doing it because they wanted me to do the test. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm fine. I'll just do the test. But they're like, oh, but the person's not here. You have to come back on Monday. And I'm like, but I specifically set up the appointment so that I could do this test. So can you just sign this? Because I don't want to do it, and I'm not at a high risk factor or whatever. And then finally they just signed it, but I kind of feel like I bullied them into it. But whatever. I'm not at a high risk factor, and we have to get this test every 4 years, and I'm totally fine. Whatever. So that's kind of what's been going on with me. So it's the weekend. I'm happy to have 2 more days off because I've been playing my video game, which is Horizon Forbidden West, and I've been playing it a lot, and I'm really into it. And that's something that's funny, right? Because in these Friday night chats, I talk about what I've done and everything. But when it comes to video games, it's not. It's kind of more difficult to talk about, because it's like one thing that you do for so many hours. Like, I think I've already played this game 64 hours, and I remember the last one I played 122 hours. That is such a huge waste of time, but it's not. It's so fun. But imagine playing a video game for 122 hours. Crazy. Well, I'm about halfway there now. All right. So yesterday I had to go pick up some medicine from CVS. So I decided just to go to my local store. So I actually have something to show you. First, I went to the local bookstore, and I picked up 2 books, which I probably, will take a year to read, but what the hell. Okay, so I bought another book by John Wyndham called Stowaway to Mars. I just love these new modern library covers for his books. So I have 4 of his books now, and they have great covers. And then I bought this. This is like a classic of post-apocalyptic fiction, which I've never read. Neville Shute on the Beach. Now, I'm just scared because I think I might have this already. I hope not, because I hate wasting money like that. But there you go. I bought those 2. So I'm looking forward to reading those at some point. And then I went to the record store. Now, I'm not going to feel guilty. I spent $35 at the record store, and I was looking at jazz albums there, and just one album, a jazz album, cost $35. And I got this many, so I'm going to be like, okay. Now, the first one I bought was this one, Melanie. It's $1. Now, I thought, normally I'm only buying them for the covers, but this is actually a beautifully made, like, the texture of it is gorgeous, and her voice is interesting, and I thought for $1, and the record is in really, really good condition, I thought for $1, even if later I want to throw it in the trash, it's like worth it for $1. This is the one I spent the most money on. So I paid $15 for this. It's a Bernstein, Stravinsky's The Rites of Spring. It's just that cover art is just so good. Now, again, I don't think I have this. Maybe I've looked at it so many times and wanted to buy it and just never did. But I have this like weird feeling like, do I have it? Don't I have it? I don't think I do. But anyways, isn't that like the really weirdest, like just a weird cover, like so pagan? I don't know. It's just weird. Okay, then I found this weird jazz album called Free Fall. I just bought it for that cover art. I'm definitely going to listen to it, of course. This one I paid $5 for. And then I paid $5 from this with Love from a Chorus. I just loved the cover art on that one. Look at him right there. So cute. And then this one was an interesting one. Mickey Rooney sings George M. Cohen. I just really like that. It was $3. I'll probably enjoy listening to this one the most, just because there's a lot of songs I already know, and I know Mickey Rooney. And then this one, I probably shouldn't have bought. It was $3, but look at that cute cover, Bach Festival. And there you go. So, 2 new books, a bunch of new albums to listen to this weekend. So that was my haul. Hope you liked it. I don't have any new comics this week. Let me get my books and stuff out of the way. But I think I also told you that my beard was all crooked too, because when I went to the doctor's, I had to put on a mask and like scrunched everything. So I bought the Apple. Well, no, it's not an Apple Pencil. It's a knockoff, but it had such great reviews. And I've been using it, and I'm really, really bad at both regular art and digital art. But I said to myself, you know what? You're going to practice, and you're going to do a little bit each day. So you guys can laugh at me all you want, but I've been following the tutorials online. So the first tutorial I did was this one, and that's how it turned out. I followed right along with the instructor. And then this was the next one I did. See what an artist I am? Now, the next one I just did after I was bored. So this is just an abstract piece. I know I'm not very good. Then this was the third tutorial. That one was fun to do. And then I did this one, an animation, and I really messed it up because the black background of the wings shouldn't be there. But I didn't want to go through all the steps and find out where I made a mistake. So that's the digital art. I'm going to keep working on that. And the program that I'm using is called Procreate, I think. What's it called? Yeah, it's called Procreate. It's $13, but it's a one-time fee. And everybody raves about it. And it actually is a really, really good program. So I'm going to keep following the tutorials. There are people who do tutorials, and you can follow along and then create. And I mean, it helps me learn the program, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to get my own style. So I will keep you up to date on that if that's what you want. Just tell me in the comments. I'll keep showing you my beautiful art that I'm creating. Even though I'm not creating it, someone is showing me how to do it. All right, so here we go. Sorry, I still have a cough. Let's talk about some movies. Now, I'm leading up to a couple of controversies, so I'm going to be spending a bunch of time on that. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the movies. So I picked this one, The Door, because I had read this novel by Magdas Gabo, and it's such a great book. And so I wanted to see the movie, and it had Helen Mirren. And I really did enjoy the movie. Obviously, the book has so much more details. And this is basically the story of 2 women and their interactions and their beliefs. And they come from kind of different culture. and it the book is very, very good. And I didn't think the movie was too bad, especially for a filmed version of a book where they can't do everything. It was like watching like a masterpiece theater type of presentation. Then I watched this 60s movie called Queen of Blood. And this one is, like a B movie from the 60s. And basically the planet Earth gets a call saying, "Hey, we're out here, let's meet." And so we like go to Mars, I guess, to meet this culture that we never met, like alien species, but they crash, and then they pick up the species, and then turns out she's like this vampire, and she's like draining everybody's blood. But what's interesting about this is, to do this glowing eyes, like her eyes would glow, they shone lasers into her eyes. And I just wonder, like, didn't that end up damaging her eyes? Yeah, they would like shine lasers in her eyes to make her eyes glow like that. Another interesting thing about this movie is it had Dennis Hopper in it. He gets his blood sucked. So another movie that I saw, which I enjoyed this movie so much, I did not expect to enjoy this. Okay? And this was Megan. This movie really surprised me at how much fun it was and how it was good. The doll is genuinely creepy. Now, the creepiest thing is when this doll does this like dance. But anyways, this movie is fun. I'm not going to spoil it, right? But it's like this AI doll. It's like Chucky, basically. But I really enjoyed this movie, so I recommend this one. Okay, so that's Megan. A movie that I didn't enjoy, however, was Escape the Field. Now, this is one of those movies where people wake up and there's puzzles that they have to solve, kind of like Saw, right? And I typically really like those kind of movies, but this one was just bad. So, nope, not recommended. So don't watch Escape the Field. Another movie I watched was called Four Moons, and if you couldn't tell, that this one is kind of like a low budget Spanish, very gay centric movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's the best example of a gay movie out there. So I don't know if I would really recommend it, but I enjoyed it. It was basically Four Moons. It was the story of four different like gay stories. All right. Excuse me. Sorry, that sounded gross. Let me take. Now we're gonna get to the biggie of the evening, and that is Tar. Now I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about with Tar. But first thing is, I want to trot out my list. This is my list of my Academy Award nominees, and I need to, I'm crossing them off. So at this point, I have seen 5 of the 10 best pictures. So I added Tar to it. Now the next ones I want to watch are Triangle of Sadness and All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know why I keep putting off All Quiet on the Western Front, but I just need to sit down and watch. It's like 2.5 hours. And then also Triangle of Sadness is like 2.5 hours. And so the reason I'm just hesitant is like it's the subject matter of both of them. It's just like not something that I'm like overly excited about. But I definitely will watch them. So those are the next 2. But I was very looking forward to watching Tar. And I'm so glad I did. So here we go. Tar, starring Cate Blanchett. I am going to talk about this movie. I'm going to try not to spoil it, but I might. Most of everything that I'm going to say for the rest of this video is Tar related, because it brings up some controversies that were also related to some other controversies that I was going to talk about anyway, right? So a while back, Bill Maher went on a rant against people who read comic books. Okay. Now I remember that. I was actually watching him at the time. And um the thing about it is, hey, Angel, stop. The thing about it is, like, I can understand why comic people who read comic books would be very upset about that and not want to watch him anymore. I'm not of that opinion. I know that when I watch somebody like that, they're always going to have opinions, and I'm not always going to agree with their opinions. Now, Bill Maher has said so many things that have pissed people off, and I've come across so many people who said, "Oh, because he said this, I don't watch him anymore," or blah, 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 I don't watch him anymore. And I get that, I do, but even though I didn't agree with what he said, I understood his larger point, and I think this was the point. Right, he shouldn't have gone off on like a specific group of people. But I remember Martin Scorsese saying that it's movies like Marvel movies that are destroying cinema. Okay, and to a certain extent, he's absolutely correct. Now, what he meant was that studios won't fund anything that isn't a surefire hit. They're taking fewer and fewer chances so that independent movies or something that's not a reboot or part of a franchise, basically it can't get made. And and if it doesn't have Star Wars or Marvel or Disney attached to it in some way, you're pretty much not going to get it made if it's a certain budget. Now, if it's a very, very low budget movie, maybe you can get it financed independently. But anything that takes a certain amount of money, like the studios they're not backing it. And so I understood that argument. But Bill Maher went like to the furthest extremes because, when Scorsese said that, he upset a lot of people in the comic industry. And I totally get that, right? But I also understood the larger argument. But then Bill Maher was like making all these jokes about, all these nerds in their garages or in, their mother's basements and, whatever. Like, we're easy targets. Totally. But I wasn't that offended by it. I just thought it was funny and I just thought he took it too far, right? But one of my followers, he was like, "Hey, remember, I won't watch him anymore because of da da da." And I respect that. Okay, I do. But I want to know what do you think out there? If someone says something that you absolutely don't uh believe, is that person like canceled forever? Because I think this is a really important point, right? Because we're having so much trouble in this country because we won't listen to people or we won't try to go deeper. And I hate saying this because it sounds like I'm attacking my the follower on YouTube. I'm not doing that, right? I'm trying not to do that. I'm just saying that um I think sometimes it's more nuanced, and then I like, for example, Bill Maher he's made so many comments about obesity, and he gets into a lot of trouble about it. But I kind of understand what he's saying, and he also made a lot of comments about the getting the COVID vaccine, and I understood his point, but I didn't necessarily believe it, but I understood what he was trying to get across, right? So anyways, let me go back to Tar. So number one, I'm going to say Tar, I think, was a way better movie than Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think of the 5 that I've seen so far, it deserved to win. It was a far superior movie. However, it's a movie that no one will watch. It's 2.5 hours, and it's very slowly paced. Now, the acting and all the details in the movie, they're there for a reason, but it takes a long time to get there. Now, I wasn't specifically bored myself, but I don't mind watching something like that movie, but I could see where not many people would. Also, I read this article by Bret Easton Ellis, and he was saying how the Academy Awards are very political. We all know that. And that Everything Everywhere All at Once should not have won. And that Kate Blanchett was robbed because of politics, because they needed to give it to the Asian actress. Now, I'm just saying what's in the article. I don't believe that. I do think that Kate Blanchett's job was way harder, and she did such a better job than Michelle Yeoh. But I understand that the Academy is going to pick something popular. I totally get that. I'm fine with it, right? That's why there's like nominees, because you get to see a wide range, but the popular one is going to get picked, right? Everything Everywhere All at Once was fun. It had like kung fu in it. It had a tearjerker kind of ending. It was a family drama. It was destined to win. Plus, it was a vehicle for so many Asian artists to finally be recognized. It needed to win. However, Kate Blanchett should have won. She is in that movie almost nonstop for 2.5 hours. Like, she's in every scene, and she gives a performance. Ugh. My dog is starting to get crazy. So that was one thing. I read that article by Bret Easton Ellis, and I wanted to throw that out there, right? About the politics of the Academy Awards, which we've all heard before. Okay, so my dog is getting crazy. Can you calm down now? He like snorted in my face. Okay, I'm trying to talk about a serious subject right now, and you're getting all wild. All right, so let's talk about the movie more. Like, the movie is really about power. It's about power and the abuse of power, and it's also about cancel culture. And so it kind of played into what I just talked about like, when do we like stop following somebody or something like that's what I was moving on. So there's an extremely powerful scene in Tar. So the movie is about power and abuse of power. And there is a scene where Tar, who is a very famous conductor of a German orchestra, and she goes to do a guest lecture at Juilliard. And the student who is conducting, she and the student get into a kind of discussion that turns ugly, right? So the student doesn't want to talk about, or doesn't, well, he says something like, as a BIPOC person, I think he said was it Brahms, or was it, I think it was Brahms. Sorry, there's a lot of B composers, Bach, Brahms, Beethoven. So, but I'm pretty sure it was it Brahms? I think I'm getting it wrong. But anyways, he's like, I have to say they for the student. They were saying that he was a misogynist, Brahms. He sired 20 children, and then that music has nothing to say to me. And so Tar, she is a lesbian. She's out, and she gets into an argument with the student, like, and the whole point was you need to divorce the artist from the art, and that they shouldn't, one doesn't have anything to do with the other thing. And that's an important point because she abuses her power a lot in the movie, and so that's her kind of a philosophy in life. But the student doesn't see it that way, but she uses her power in that scene to really belittle the student, and the student ends up in, cursing her out, calling her a F and B, right? Using language exactly what the student was fighting against, right? And saying, misogynistic and all that kind of stuff. But the whole argument was really, really interesting, right? How art and artistry need to be divorced. And I'm going to give you an example from my life. I love science fiction, as you probably know. Look at this angel. And one of my favorite sci-fi writers is Orson Scott Card. Now, he's pretty bad when it comes to the gay community. He I actually haven't researched it, so I can't say specifically, but I think he funds organizations that are anti-gay. Okay, I know this. So now, what do? This is a writer who I think is incredibly complex and creates these amazing worlds that I enjoy. His writing is so good. So now what do? Do I say, oh, because of his real life stance, I never read anything by him, or I never buy any of his books. I don't support him in any way, right? Because really, sorry, still got this cough. Money is what drives the market. Okay, so what do? I just never read anything by him again and deprive myself? Or do I say, hey, look, there is the artist, real life, and then there's the art, and you can divorce the two? I know a lot of people can't do that, and I understand it, right? But the movie puts that argument across very well in that one scene, and then that scene has repercussions later in the movie. As I don't want to spoil too much, but anyways, it's a very interesting notion. So, and then it also comes up about cancel culture, right? So for example, he in the scene, the guy, he was saying how he doesn't like Brahms or whatever, because his white male misogynistic, has nothing to say to me. But he said he joined Juilliard because he was inspired by Sarah Chang, who was a Juilliard graduate. Okay, so but what do you do if, like, Sarah Chang ever plays a Brahms concerto or whatever? Like how do you reconcile this? How do you be a really good musician without knowing all the basics of everything that came before? Now, for example, how do we study literature but we can't read the Bible or Shakespeare? Like, how does that, like, how do you do that? Does, like, can you really divorce everything that came before? I think that's really a difficult idea. Like, how do you not say that these things influenced everything that came before it? Of course, you can break from it and try to go, but even a break from it means it's breaking from something that came before. So it's a very interesting idea. I highly recommend Tar, but if you're a person that doesn't like a slowly paced movie, you will not like Tar. I think Tar was far superior than Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I loved that movie. I thought it was great. Tar is so much better. Acting, directing, just, if you've seen Tar please tell me what you thought about it in the comments. And if you didn't like it, that's fine. I could totally understand that. Please tell me why. If you did like it, please tell me why. If you loved it, please tell me why. I couldn't stop thinking about that movie for like ever since I've seen it. I'm thinking about all and there's so much in it that I'm not talking about. There's so many other things that happen in this movie. Such a good movie. All right. I'm going to stop there because I'm getting ready to cough again. I got my dog rolling all over me. I didn't even talk about some of the books that I read this week. I guess I'll save them for next time. But I'm ready to play my video game. So I want to jump in there. So I hope that this wasn't too bad. I didn't kind of script this out, so I think I've been all over the place and I've been rambling. But I want to thank you for your support. Please, any comments about anything I said, I'd love to hear them. And everybody, you have a great weekend.